Braden Riggs. I'm a developer advocate with the Dolby.io business unit within Dolby.
Yeah, and hi, my name is Oliver Carson, developer advocate from PubNub. I'm not from Unity, you know, the red shirts are similar, but nope, from PubNub. So yeah, just excited to be here.
And we're here today to talk a little bit about social gaming, what it is, why you should be interested in that space, and what some of the different things that Dolby.io and PubNub are doing to enable development and technology and high-quality experiences in the social gaming space.
Yeah, so when we talk about social gaming, you know, most people are like, oh, isn't that just multiplayer for your games? And, you know, yes, it is, but when we're really talking about social gaming, we're really talking about the games that really can benefit from social features to provide, you know, authentic interactions between players as if they were in the same room together.
Yeah, you know, I think speaking anecdotally, like even before I had social media and everything like that, one of my first experiences with online social interactions was through playing video games, right? I remember playing RuneScape as a kid and chatting and interacting with the players all in real time as a real-time experience. And I think in a lot of ways, gaming, which has been around for a long time, multiplayer gaming has been around for a long time, still is leaning on and relying heavily on a lot of technology that hasn't really developed and evolved much. And really, in just the last couple of years with COVID, we've seen a lot of innovation in this space, and we've seen social gaming make some leaps and bounds. There's actually two examples I kind of want to talk about here. The first one is the Travis Scott Fortnite concert. Many people here might be familiar with that, but if you aren't, Fortnite during the pandemic put on a concert that was attended by over 12 million players concurrently. And what's really exciting about this experience is that it happened in real time. It wasn't a recording of the concert. It wasn't a bunch of siloed off rooms between the players. It really was this crazy, huge, interactive, real-time experience. And I think what's interesting about it is that it really only worked because it was real time. It really only worked because you were able to get all the players in there, you were able to get the artists performing, and you were able to connect everybody and have them feel like they're all engaging in this experience together. Another example I want to talk about is Among Us. Many people here might be familiar with Among Us. It was definitely a flash in the pan for 2020. It was a social deduction game that heavily relied on players being able to communicate with one another in order to be able to work out who the imposter was. And so even though that's an example from 2020, another game has taken its place more recently called Goose Goose Duck, which actually surpassed concurrent players when compared to Among Us. These kinds of interactive social experiences are here to stay, and they're incredibly popular. But what I think is really interesting about the Among Us example is that a lot of people were first exposed to that game by watching streamers play it online, where streamers would boot up the game, they'd jump into a Discord call with one another, and they'd have these really entertaining and fun experiences doing it. But when regular users want to play the game, they would all jump in and they'd go into these anonymous lobbies, and all the communication had to be done via chat. It wasn't exactly a super compelling experience for the end user, and it took a bit of the real-time element out of it. So I think any circumstance where you're forcing your players that you're developing these games for to download and have two apps in order to fully enjoy the experience is just a huge missed opportunity to leverage some of this technology.
Yeah, and as Braden was saying, I mean, that's really why PubNub and Dolby.io came together, is to provide the complete package for real-time functionality inside of your games. So from the Dolby.io side, they have the game engine video and audio streaming, as well as their spatial audio for web, Unity, Unreal Engine, and other such applications. And then from the PubNub side of things, we have chat, live leaderboard updates, app context for storing relationships between users and the channels that they live in, as well as presence detection. So users that come online, users that go offline, will be able to grab those events and be able to handle them accordingly.
Yeah, I think this is a really good example of how our two companies can come together to complement one another. A lot of these features like leaderboards, like in-game chat, like presence detection are just required to have these real-time multiplayer experiences, right? Users demand them, and not having them is a huge missed opportunity, to your end player base. But Dolby.io is also able to bring along a lot of really interesting technology. We can stream video and audio content in and out of game platforms, and we can also spatialize real-time conversations between players. And because we're developer platforms, yeah, these technologies, whilst applicable in the gaming space, can be used across the spectrum for things like social media applications, live music concerts, and all kinds of different things. And that's why you can see on screen right now we have game engine plugins, but we also have and support a lot of really, really popular languages. Now, it's one thing for me to talk about all of these technologies, but it's another thing for everybody here to experience it. So in a moment, I'm going to flash up a QR code on screen, and if everybody has their phones ready, you can scan that QR code. And what's going to happen is it's going to launch an app on your phone, and you're going to have to accept the permissions for that app, and it's going to live stream you into our game experience. And so we'll actually be able to walk around and see inside the game everybody's feeds from their phones. So if everybody's ready for that, I might switch across. So take a moment to scan the QR code. Now, while you're doing that, the GIF that you're seeing on screen is from one of our coworkers, Angelique. She's just kind of got a recording demo for us. But she's walking around this virtual field and finding all of these TVs that are spawning in, which come from people's game phones. So if everybody scanned the QR code, I think we can plug in Oliver's laptop and actually see this in action.
Okay, so kind of as you can see in the bottom left of the Unity experience on the right-hand side, you can kind of see me waving, and that's happening in real time. That's thanks to Dolby.io's streaming and communications APIs. So as on the left-hand side, you can kind of see me in real time, hi, waving around, and that's what's being streamed live outside of the game on the bottom left-hand corner. Also what's possible, I'm not sure why that's going on, but however, you can also essentially stream the game as if, if you're not around here, you want to be able to stream the game to like your favorite platforms, you're able to stream that game live and see the game experience from like a web browser, for example. So, okay, now to the fun part. So on a Unity experience on the right-hand side, you're going to be a player walking around in this environment, and whenever the mobile user connects, you'll be able to join as a TV object, or what we're calling streamers. So let's go ahead and try to walk around and find some people. So as we're walking around, okay, so we found our first person. Let's see, so go ahead and give a wave, say hi, make some silly faces. Yeah, there we go. Okay, awesome. And then as you can kind of see, as we're getting closer, it's lagging a little bit. As we're getting closer to the TVs, or the streamer objects, the people, the presence count is going to indicate. So there's spatial presence around these TV objects, so that should increment. There we go, we saw it increment. Hi, Gary. And what's the cool thing is that there's also the global presence count in the top right corner of your screen, as you can kind of see on the right-hand side. So that's using PubNub's presence APIs to be able to communicate that information back and forth and generate those events. So, a mobile user is connected, I'm going to generate this TV object in the game world, as well as, whenever the user leaves, it's going to remove that TV object from the game world as well. Hi, Jonas. So, yeah. So it's really cool where we're able to kind of interact with users in this really amazing way. And there's also things such as sending emojis, using PubNub messaging. There we go, send some smiley faces. And to kind of showcase some chat functionality, I'm going to generate a user using our debug console. So as soon as I click subscribe, it may not generate a TV in the game world since it's not considered to be a streamer, but what it's going to do, it's going to generate that little red guy that you can see right there, and I'm going to be able to interact with that user by chatting. So for example, I could say something like, hi. And then on the left-hand side, you can kind of see that that messaging had actually, taken place. It caught that subscribe event. And if I want to say something else, like, hello, Oliver, we can see it pop up on the right-hand side inside of the chat application.
Wonderful. Just like magic, right? So a couple more things I kind of want to mention about that experience because it's a lot to unpack. What was actually happening is when you scan that QR code, you were launching the mobile experience, which you can see over on the left, onto your phone. And that mobile experience is streaming a one-directional video feed from your phone up to the Dolby.io servers. From there, the Dolby.io servers are packaging that video feed with everybody else's video feed in the game experience and handing that off to what we call our game experience. Now for here, we just showcase the demo on a laptop, but this kind of technology, because it's web and server based, can work on headsets, it can work on phones, it can work on gaming consoles, and computers. And so Dolby.io is handing off all that information to the game experience. Additionally, we didn't showcase it in this demo, but Angelique did a talk here yesterday, and that talk was recorded. But we also have spatial audio functionality in there. So this allows players to communicate in real time, fully spatially, which is also part of this really fun shared experience.
Yeah, and then from the PubNub side of things, whenever the mobile user is connecting to, clicking on that join the experience, allowing those connections to place, what's happening is you're creating a PubNub object by providing a couple of different API keys as well as a unique user identifier. That uniquely defines you on the PubNub network, and you'll be subscribed to something called a channel, which is just a mechanism to transmit data between that device through the PubNub network. So as soon as you do that, it will generate a presence event, which allows you to actually get caught inside the game experience, and that's what's generating that TV. It's using those credentials to connect to the Dolby.io communication API and streaming platforms, and being able to generate that object. And the similar thing with messaging. There are messaging events where it's a pub sub-platform, so you're able to publish message, listen for those messages, and that's how that was interacting between the chat between the debug console and the Unity player.
So what I think is super interesting about this technology is because it's all web and server based, you're not limited by players' hardware necessarily, right? You can develop these experiences for people who have phones, people who have consoles, computers, even headsets, right? I think that's a really compelling argument to make because, like, in a lot of ways, these experiences are now only limited by your imagination. If you want a way for players to get involved with your game from their mobile phones, you can build that functionality in. I remember Activision's The Division back in the day was talking about how players could connect through their phones in order to control different objects inside the game space, like drones and stuff like that, that players playing the experience on their phone could interact with. And I think there's a ton of really cool opportunities where you can do this stuff. And really, we haven't seen a ton of innovation in this space. And so it's exciting that the technology is caught up in order to enable these kinds of experiences. Now, Dolby itself does a lot in the gaming space, but I thought it'd be good for a moment to kind of dwell on who specifically is using our spatial audio and our streaming plugins for Dolby.io. And there's two use cases I want to talk about here. The first one is Red Pill VR. They do these like Metaverse concert type experiences where they bring a ton of players into a shared space. They have a DJ perform, and then they have other players who don't have headsets or maybe want to watch the stream on their phone, view that stream from their mobile devices or from their computers. And so what's really interesting about this is virtual live concerts really only work if it's like real time, right? As soon as you start adding some delay there, the artist doesn't feel connected to the audience doesn't feel connected to the artist. It's not a compelling experience for anyone. You may as well go just watch a recording of it, right? So using our technology, they were able to leverage ultra low latency video and audio streaming so that people without headsets can enjoy the experience from their phones or computers, and so that they can deliver really high quality audio when they're in this experience. Now, the other use case is Odyssey. Odyssey, they build virtual meeting rooms for corporate clients, right? And these virtual meeting rooms allow different business units within a company to collaborate and engage with each other in a way that's a little bit more compelling than just like a Zoom meeting, right? And so what's interesting about this use case is they use spatial audio between the participants so they can meet each other, talk to each other, have compelling and engaging discussions. And then they use streaming, which you can kind of see in the background on the GIF there, where they're streaming in one user who's maybe giving a presentation, or they're streaming in a shared screen or a live concert or something like that. And so these technologies come together to make this virtual meeting room feel less flat, right? With dynamic audio, with high quality, low delay video, it helps the experience feel more alive and feel more engaging and feel more real time.
Yeah, and kind of similarly to the PubNub side of things, these are just some of our gaming customers, but we also have customers outside of just gaming. But to kind of highlight a few, like Niantic, Beamable, Superlative Gaming, they use us for, really social features to power, they use us to power their social features for their games. So that includes things like in-app chat, live leaderboards and scoreboards, as well as, presence detection, their friend lists, as well as even, things such as like profanity filtering or even language translation to happen all in real time.
I think it's important to mention again that we're a developer platform, right? And what that means is that the barrier to entry for using these tools is very, very low. You don't need to sign a contract or have a use case in mind necessarily. You can actually just go and create an account for free at both of our websites with just an email address, no credit card required. And with that, you'll be given a certain amount of free credits, which you can use to play around with these APIs. Again, you don't have to have a use case in mind if you just want to try out the technology and see what you can build with it. That opportunity is there, but hopefully seeing some of the stuff that we've been showcasing, it's got you thinking and got you excited about some of the different opportunities inside this space. So if you are interested in trying out our APIs, I recommend you visit our documentation to learn a bit more about them. It's docs.dolby.io for all things Dolby.io, and then pubnub.com/docs for all of PubNub's stuff.
Yeah, and feel free to check out all of our tutorials, our blogs, our how-to guides to kind of how to get started, and even our demos as well that kind of showcases these kind of functionality in various applications, not just gaming, but there are gaming demos and tutorials online. And of course, if we don't offer the language that you're looking for your game engine, like either Unity or Unreal Engine, we offer a REST API where you can actually use that and just connect it from your favorite video game engine.
Now, it looks like we are going to have some time for questions, but before we jump to that, I just want to share this QR code at the top leads to all the code for everybody that saw the demo experience. So that's all, you can go check that out. You can see how we built it. And then the second QR code is for the in-game experience. So again, if you are interested in just seeing how we put this together and how this technology works, you can just scan that QR code.